What's up, guys? All 10 episodes of The Studio are now out streaming on Apple TV+. I just finished watching the last episode, and I just really want to talk about this season because I fucking love this show. This show is clearly made for film nerds, people who are obsessed with film, who just absolutely love going to the movies, love movies nowadays, love every decade of movies, everything that has to do with it, the actors, the directors, even people who just know all these directors. So there's a lot of kind of no names in this season that are playing themselves. It's kind of made for cinephiles, without a doubt. And it's also almost as if Curb Your Enthusiasm and Entourage had a baby, which are two of my favorite shows of all time. And so after the first two episodes, I kind of started to understand what it was, what Seth Rogen was trying to do, and it just never let up for me. Every episode pretty much got better and better and better. I do think the Kool-Aid episode is probably one of my favorites. That was in the middle of the season. But man, this show is so ridiculously hilarious. I love it so much. I'm dying laughing every single episode. And it's not just, it is kind of the typical Seth Rogen humor. Although, I think he's grown up a lot. He's matured a lot. He really doesn't act as much, as he did back in the day, 15 years ago or so, the Pineapple Express days and all that. He's a producer now. He produces not only The Boys, an AMC TV show. I forgot what it was called, but I believe it's also based on a comic book. He's doing all these different things now. And in this, him and, of course, Evan Goldberg, his partner since they were kids, they direct every episode in this, produce every episode, and he stars in every single episode. He is the new head of the studio, Continental Studios, which is, something equal to like Paramount or, Warner Brothers, something like that. And he is the new studio head, and it just follows him trying to make these different movies, finding himself in all these different neurotic, crazy situations. Much like Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I think the one episode that kind of would represent it the most is when he spends an entire episode, it takes place at the Golden Globes, but he spends an entire episode trying to get his name written into the speech that Zoe Kravitz is going to give when she wins her Golden Globe. He's scrambling around the Golden Globes, trying to figure out any way possible to etch his name into this speech without Zoe really knowing. And it's just so hectic, much like every episode, but he's just so obsessed with being mentioned in a speech because, studio heads don't really ever get that much love. Nobody really knows studio heads. I know David Zaslav. That's pretty much the only one that I can think of off the top of my head. And obviously Kevin Feige, that's another easy one. But he's just so obsessed with it. And he just puts himself in these awkward situations, just not really picking up on social cues and the way people are feeling, much like Larry David, or just really not giving a fuck. He essentially just starts begging Zoe and even asking other people if it's a good idea. They all say, obviously fucking not. And he just doesn't care, just does all these awkward situations. And almost every episode is kind of similar to that. The Kool-Aid one where they hire Ice Cube to voice the Kool-Aid Man. His studio's making this new Kool-Aid movie because they want it to be kind of like Barbie is what they kind of compare it to. They think it's going to make $1 billion. And it's animated. So they hire Ice Cube to be the voice of it. And then they start questioning themselves as if what they're doing is questionable. And then Seth Rogen and his whole team just scramble around the whole episode once again, trying to figure out ways, recasting their cast that was pretty much all white. And they end up casting a whole black cast. And then they once again ask themselves, what the fuck are we doing? It's even worse now. And all the episodes are just kind of smart like that. They integrate all these different things, especially how Hollywood is it nowadays with the big budget movies, superheroes, and Matt, Seth Rogen's character, he wants to make kind of both movies. He wants to make, the A24 type movies, and then he wants to make the big budget Marvel, Warner Brothers movies as well. And the show really just involves you with the process, everything that the directors and the writers and the actors, everything they don't do. How a movie is greenlit, all the studio heads, what they have to think of, what they go through. They meet with the directors, they meet with the writers, the concepts, the marketing. It really takes you behind the scenes on all of that. And it's, similar to Entourage, like I said, but Entourage did do that, but more so, on the agency side. Then we have Matt's right-hand man, his best friend, Sal Saperstein, played by Ike Barinholtz. And this guy is also just such a great piece to this show. He is so fucking hilarious, especially In the Golden Globes episode, when every single person starts thanking him because Adam Scott, used to sleep on his couch, and he thanks him in his speech, and he becomes a meme and does all this stuff. It's just so fucking hilarious. He's really awesome in this, and he's also just crazy. The typical, Hollywood producer, without kind of being a douchebag. He's just psycho. He's willing to do whatever it takes. He's funny. And him and Seth Rogen just play so well off each other in every single episode. And not to mention the fact that every single episode is just a collection of one-shots, a collection of oneers. That second episode called The Oneer is also probably top 3 my favorite episodes of the season, where he goes to, the set of one of his movies. Studio heads don't normally do that, and he obviously loves movies. I think he worked at that studio long time. I think he used to be a PA when he was 30 years ago, so he's worked there forever. He loves movies. He just wants to watch it being made, but with the neurotic person that he is, and, kind of self-deprecating in some sort of way, he just can't stop himself from getting in the way of this one shot. They're filming it at sunset, so everything has to be perfect. The lighting, the timing, all of that has to be spot on. And the director is just getting so annoyed with Matt, but he just can't help himself. And he's talking, he's tripping over stuff. He trips and falls on tables, breaks his finger in one episode. He falls a lot, and it's so fucking funny every single time. So with that, there is still that Seth Rogen humor, but I think, like I said, he's more mature now, and it's tweaked a little bit to be a little bit more refined. Catherine O'Hara is also in this show playing the old studio head who gets fired, who Matt then replaces, and then she just becomes a producer for the studio. Catherine O'Hara is in 2 of the biggest TV shows on television right now, which is awesome, but she is also great in this. She's hilarious, much opposite to her character in The Last of Us. And with the show being, about Hollywood, based in the movies, on the studio sets, all these characters kind of embody that Hollywood lifestyle, that Hollywood mindset of wanting to become rich and famous, wanting to be a part of these movies and be accepted by other people. And the fact that Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, all the actors, extras, everyone a part of the show is able to pull off the fact that every episode is just one shots, the camera never cuts unless it's the next scene. I don't know how many times this fucking show must have taken to film. Every episode, I have no idea. The rehearsal must have just been grueling. It must have been crazy. One fuck up happens, start the whole scene over. I think it's extremely ambitious, and they pulled it off. They pulled it off like a motherfucker. I fucking love this season. I love this show. I think it was already renewed for season 2. This show is definitely made for someone like me. The humor, all the actors that you've seen it, the directors, they have Parker Finn in one episode, who basically no one's gonna know unless you are someone who's into movies like me, or, just that in general. He directed the Smile movies. There's plenty of other people like that. Nicholas Stoller. Nobody's gonna recognize these people, but I do. And if you do, you're going to love this show as well. That's who it's kind of really made for, although the humor kind of carries it in Seth Rogen, so I think you're going to like it no matter what. But just for cinephiles, it just takes it to that next level of just being, that Leonardo DiCaprio meme from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, just pointing out there's so many people in this show, so many cameos. Zoe Kravitz, Anthony Mackie, Ron Howard. There's just too many. Dave Franco is fucking hilarious in one of the last episodes. And I can't forget Bryan Cranston. He is the president of the studio, the CEO. So he's the top guy. And he's only in 2-3 episodes, I believe. But he steals the fucking show when he's on screen. I've never seen him play a role like this, but he fucking nails it. Just this out of touch old guy, this studio head who's been there forever, He's been around generations and generations, and all he cares about is making money. And he pretends to try to know what's hip nowadays, what's cool, the way he dresses, the way he talks. He only cares about making money. Like, this guy greenlights a Kool-Aid movie, for God's sake, thinking it's going to be the next Barbie. It's just, it's absolutely hilarious in the best way possible. But the show does pay homage to film, not just movies, blockbusters, but to film, to the A24, to the old movies, Sunset Boulevard, Citizen Kane, all those types of movies, just the whole history of film. It definitely pays homage to. You can tell Seth Rogen and all these people really love film, love the history of film. So I really like that aspect as well. It shines through in the best way possible, and this season is an absolute banger. This season is a 10 out of 10 for me. I fucking love this show. I can't wait for season 2. So please watch this show. It's on Apple TV Plus. All the episodes are now streaming. If you don't die laughing at this, then I guess it's just not your type of humor or whatever. I don't know what to tell you. It's amazing. Go watch it. But as always, appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell me your favorite episode. But as always, my name is Zach. Later.